Some feathers shall be ruffled today. Mexican, Indian, Persian, Arab, whatever you want to call it. Basically, the middle part of the spectrum of that one Family Guy meme. What do they all have in common? Well, they're brown and they all love using the N-word. This included my teenage self, embarrassing enough as it is to admit. I think it's important that this conversation remains open, candid, and honest. These kids, and I'm specifically going to be talking about the men who are kids of immigrants, if not immigrants themselves, have grown up in the Western world, a world that's not meant for them. Some of them escaping economic hardship, some of them escaping war, some of them escaping famine. For whatever reason, these families decided to move into the white man's world. And in the white man's world, there's the white hegemony, basically making white people the default setting in everything, in movies, TV, any culture. But in every young North American brown man's life comes a pivotal moment when they're sitting in a car, at the barbershop, at the mall, and they pick up a sick beat. And no, sir, this isn't EDM or country music. What is this? That's when they discover hip hop music, which is not only appealing because it's good music, but because there's someone who is not white at the forefront. I mean, sure, there are, but it's not the majority. Listen, bro. For the sake of conversation, let's not talk about Eminem. Most, if not all, of the people in hip hop are black, which for a brown man is pretty inspiring to see. Someone who's not the status quo, who's not just existing, but who is thriving in this white hegemonic world that we live in. Suddenly they're thinking, whoa, this music relates so much to my personal identity. It's pretty cool, right? Whoa, this music is making me feel stuff I've never felt before. I know, it's pretty great, right? I think I'm black. No, trust me, I can say it. I'm one of them. Black American culture is very attractive to brown people who share similar struggles of trying to fit in the white man's world. Black people, for being here longer, have had more time to carve out their own unique culture. A culture of resilience, of not letting a white person's perspective tell you what your racialized experience is. There's a lot of similarities in the struggle that brown people face that are similar to what black people face, but that's the key thing. It's a similarity. And in this video, I want to talk about how this conflation happens in greater detail, the problems that arise from this conflation, and what the appropriate steps are to move forward in it. Let's start talking about where...
It's rewind time.
To start off the conversation, let's talk about how both groups got their footing in North American culture. The origin of the African American, as we all know, was through chattel slavery from European colonies coming over, decimating what the indigenous people had here and creating their own colonies using the labor of African slaves. Other brown people, again, the Family Guy meme, didn't come through slavery, but came through immigration. All at different times, but a majority of them came around the 1900s. The Mexican mass migration wave built from 1920 to 1929. First major wave of South Asian immigration into North America was in the 1900s, with thousands of Punjabi Sikh men coming from India to feed the Western demand for farm labor. For Arabs, there was a period of mass migration between 1880 and 1924, where approximately 95,000 immigrants from Greater Syria, which includes Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, and Palestine. Arab immigration really accelerated though at the start of the 20th century as Detroit's booming auto industry drew immigrants from all over the world. Fun fact, that's what led to Dearborn having the highest diaspora of Arabs in all of North America. I know because I live next to Dearborn. Every one of these subsect of brown people, including black people, have faced racial discrimination for not fitting in the white hegemony. And every single group has faced incredible racial stereotyping. Black people had minstrel shows and race science that made them seem inferior just based off of genetics. Latinos were seen as economic leeches, being lazy. If you have any negative connotation to marijuana, it's probably because of racist Latino stereotyping. South Asians and Arabs have also been discriminated heavily. With more recent examples as of late, post 9/11, a lot of people in the West would conflate the two groups even because, again, they fell into this Family Guy meme. This meme can be put in a museum, by the way. It is so relevant to the times. Ever since 9/11, Arabs have been designated as the terrorist class of people in the world zeitgeist. As of late, the most recent demographic of brown people that gets discriminated against is South Asians, Indians, Pakistani. Like, it doesn't matter. They won't make the differentiation anyways. The white hegemony views a population that's in the billions as parasites to whatever country they immigrate to. If this sounds harsh, trust me, I'm just reading over what I see in the Six Buzz comment section. All that being said, there's a lot of overlap in between these types of discrimination. We're talking about othering people. But what makes black people different from all the other brown people I mentioned? Well, at the start, I did say that they were here first. They've been able to develop a counterculture to this white hegemony longer than any other minority group that I've mentioned. They also had more of a reason to create a counterculture. See, the other groups that I mentioned were all immigrants. So they chose to come here, which granted some of them did leave like war-torn countries. So it couldn't have been like a super willing choice, but it was still a choice. Whereas with slavery, you don't have a choice. With brown immigrants, they can come to the West and still maintain a lot of that culture. But when you're in chattel slavery and you're seen as an asset more than a person, there's a really intentional erasure of your culture and where you came from. A lot of African Americans don't even know the backgrounds and origins of their ancestry because it simply just doesn't exist. It was wiped out of the history books. So African Americans really needed to develop a counterculture because they had nothing to fall back on from their homeland. So black culture in the West has been developing for 300 plus years, with the earliest seeds being put in songs, then that leading to blues and jazz music. Blues in itself being a genre that originated from people singing about the blues of slavery. These roots were from like the 1600s to the 1800s, but then black culture really blew up in the 1920s and 1930s. With the Harlem Renaissance. This then led to soul music, funk music, disco music, Motown, R&B music. This compounds and I'd say would peak at rap music. Rap music in its inception was a masterclass of storytelling in a brand new way. It's exciting, it's fresh, it's new, and it's unapologetically black. And it's unapologetically popular. It's the biggest genre in the world for a reason. African Americans have been able to create a culture out of the remnants of what they remembered from their past, and they've not only succeeded, but they thrived in making one of the most exciting forms of art. And the most important thing is that in the Western world, they finally were able to develop an alternative to the all-white hegemony. Now, it's just not white people on the screens anymore. There's an alternative. People who can talk about real life experiences of discrimination. Black people were in large parts able to dispel the negativity that was associated with black people by providing such amazing cultural input, which not only humanized them, but made blackness super desirable to many non-white communities. They prove that you can be non-white in a white hegemony and still thrive. Now, where do brown people play a role in this? It's, I think, important to mention that brown struggles and black struggles have overlapped for the common good multiple times throughout history. Martin Luther King sent a telegram to Cesar Chavez during his 1968 fast for nonviolence, and Coretta Scott King stood with Chavez when he was jailed in Salinas, California in 1970. The Black Panthers inspired the Brown Berets in Chicago, who were a brown activist group. This is where the line kind of gets messy. Because this solidarity that I mentioned, although it does happen, it doesn't happen all the time. See, there's always going to be people who want to appeal to the white hegemony, and they think they can do that by putting other colored people down. Let me explain the
I know black, imposible, I know black, I'm Dominican.
To start off this conversation, I think we should start by talking about the term BIPOC. It stands for Black Indigenous People of Color. When I first heard this, I kind of thought it was redundant. I mean, bruh. Black and indigenous people are people of color. Duh. It wasn't until my friend Aiden explained to me why the term held significance. See, amongst different minority groups that fall in the POC, for whatever reason, black people and indigenous people always end up at the bottom. Family Guy meme tells us this. Whether we want to admit it or not, a lot of us brown people discriminate amongst indigenous and black people quite often. Whether it be to make us feel better or to appeal to the white gaze, we don't show up to the protests. We don't accept their struggles. We see the effects of slavery as just, oh, they have to work harder. Black people aren't seen as proper dating material. Our communities will say the same racist shit that old white people do, where like all black people are hoodlums and angry and aggressive. I mean, bruh, I've been asked before, would you ever date a black girl? Like, what? Why don't we apply this metric to other POC? Again, BIPOC can tell us that it's because black and indigenous people get put on this lowest ranking of society in a white supremacist framework. And I don't know why some brown people believe that if they, follow these racist frameworks, that they will somehow be exempt of the racist stereotypes that the white supremacist world views on them, when in reality, that does not happen. Look at Vivek Ramaswamy. Look at the Fresh and Fit guys. They're DEI white supremacists who have to get reminded constantly by white people that they're not part of the club no matter how hard they try.
You are so bright and articulate, and I guess I can call you articulate since you're not an American black. Can't say that about them. That's I still would not have voted for you because you're an Indian.
How did this go back to brown men? Well, I'm just going to speak from my experience, right? I, as well as a lot of the people who I grew up with, idolized black musicians and black artists because they're really cool and they provide an alternative to, again, the white hegemony that we all grew up with. They talk about the experiences of being racialized in a world that doesn't see you like one of them, and we relate to the music on a deeper level. That's why we're attached to it. So we embrace this art, we consume the clothes, we consume the culture, to the point where a lot of brown men almost LARP as being black men. Again, bringing up the N-word conversation, they all feel like, oh, since I'm not white and I see that the not white alternative says it, then why can't I say it? But you sound stupid as fuck saying that shit, bro. And I'm telling that to the 15-year-old version of myself too, because there are clear differences and there's layers to this discrimination shit. Layers that I bet you, if you had an honest conversation with yourself, perpetuate, if not your family perpetuates them. We got to remember that although we are not part of the oppressive class, a lot of the stuff that we do can inadvertently help the oppressive class and also harm the people that we appreciate so much. If you're a brown guy and you're only surrounded by your brown guy friends and y'all talk like black people and y'all talk like what you think black people sound like, and you drop the N-word amongst them but like not around anyone else because you know that's cool, like, bro, stop LARPing, please. As empowering as having an option that's not the status quo is, don't fall into being a perpetrator of racism, the same type of racism that you would hate if it was inflicted upon you. Also, don't forget who you are, man. There's so many beautiful things about all our cultures, and like, hey, you can appreciate black culture. Don't forget who you are, Arab, Indian, Mexican boy. You got things about you and your culture that are real. Embrace them. Don't run away from them because there's no cool Indian or Mexican or whatever artist that you can cosplay as. Be the change you want to see. Let's not willingly homogenize all of us into the same category of other. Instead, let's try to cultivate and carve out our own cultural inputs that's unique to us. This is a conversation I've had within myself for a minute, as it's something that I've noticed amongst people who look like me, my community, also myself. Like I mentioned, I used to be one of these like shithead 15-year-olds. I also noticed that my friends all say that I have a Drake scent, which is like a black scent. It's specifically Drake's accent, which I thought was like interesting. But yeah, man, be yourself. That's been my video for this week. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Ali. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.